Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into Sims Workshop. I hope you are all having a wonderful day. So today we are going to be reviewing, here let me just pull up my notes here, make sure I got the right book, The Enemy's Daughter by Melissa Poett. This was an art gifted to me from the publisher. They had me at retelling of Tristan and Isolde. I mean, come on. I love Tristan and Isolde, especially that movie with James Franco. I love that movie. What can I say? And I just, you know, the whole forbidden love triangle kind of situation, I think is really cool. Well, not really cool, more like torturous and tension driven, you know? But I really wanted to read this young adult version, so I was very excited when the publisher, sent me a copy of this in the mail. I was like, oh yay, free book. It did not disappoint. It is a young adult retelling, but what I really loved about it was it's a dystopian as well. So it takes place 37 years after the world has essentially ended. Bombs ravaged the land, and now you have these clans. And that's Isolde. She is part of these clans, and in her society, the society that her father, the chieftain, was kind of able to establish. He establishes a very old world type of society, where women do the cooking and the cleaning and they deal with the medicine, with the herbs, and he really limits them, Men are the hunter-gatherer, women are the hearth keepers, basically. But she wants so much more than that. She has a little secret hideaway where she reads old books on medicine. She can name all the herbs and how to use them for medicine. She wants so much more than what her father's offering her, which is her hand in marriage to whoever captures the leader of Kingsland. That's the enemy, right? The enemy responsible for basically a lot of bad things that have happened to the clans, right? So, just her luck, right? She captures Tristan, the, son of their chieftain, right? And in doing so, she kind of gets poisoned. Now, here's where the little bit of fantasy comes into play, because I think it's actually really cool. In Kingsland, the first settlers of this pretty much untouched mini city, they were affected by the radioactivity of the bombs, right? They were able to form telepathic connections with their significant other. And Tristan is able to use, since he is descendant of one of the first settlers, his father, who had got the radioactivity and, the science. I know, that was very helpful. He is genetically, why can't I say that word? I can say it in my head, but I can't say it out loud. It's like at the tip of my brain. You guys know what word I'm thinking of. You know it. But genetically, he has inherited this telepathic ability. And in order to save Isolde, he marries her and takes on some of her pain. So I like that little bit of fantasy that's in the story. I think it was really cool. I think it was really interesting. And in joining this community against her will, Isolde discovers that everything she thought she knew is a lie. It's a not first person. It is a singular POV novel, so you don't get to see Tristan's perspective outside of what he shares with her telepathically. That's really interesting because you're getting like it's almost like a third person POV, but it's really through Isolde. So as she's experiencing his internal perspective of situations, you are reading her emotional response to that. And I think that was very cool with the writing style, but it also made me invested in their budding romance and then their budding relationship, because he fell first, basically. He's been in love with her for years because of course Kingsland has been watching the clans for their own safety. he has been watching her, and she has a code name, and it's called the White Rabbit because her hair is like so fair because she's so blonde. I like their discovery, you know, the emotional response they have to each other, because it does lend a lot of growth on her part. Being in this new situation changes a lot of her perspective, and it allows her to grow throughout the experience. And you're definitely seeing the whole Tristan and Isolde story being told, albeit in a different way, you know. The story has a lot of plot twists that I did not see coming. I liked how it evolved, and I liked that we're still keeping in tune with that dystopian aspect of the novel. I think if you're looking for something a little bit more fresh in the dystopian era, I mean, dystopian can take on so many forms, you know, just as a genre. A dystopian novel can take on so many forms. I think this is one of those where it really does, but it has like a splash of fantasy to it as well. And it's really, really interesting because of that. That aspect of the story, you don't really care so much about how the world ended. It ended. There were bombs dropped. We don't know who dropped the first bomb. It's not important information. What you're seeing is the aftermath. These two societies and how so very different they are. One is progressive and one is very old world. You know, one decided to kind of keep the democracy that existed and reinvent it in their small little commune to make a really good society. And then the other has the foundations for a good society, but it is based on lies, and it is based on taking strength away from women, basically, and just demoting them to this one household role that maybe they are unhappy with because they knew that there was so much more. Or maybe some of them are happy with it because, you know, the world has changed, and maybe some of them, like Isidora's mother, just don't know how to operate in this world. But again, without the choices offered to them, like in Kingsland, the more progressive one, a lot of what these characters know and believe of themselves is just very limited. And Isidora finding the strength to stand up for herself it resonates with the rest of the women in her community. So it does start to create this bridge between the clans and Kingsland. And of course you have your couple antagonists who are just completely awful people. But overall it was a really interesting story. I really liked the feel of it. I devoured it. I read it so fast. I was like, I think I read it in 2 days. I read it in 2 days actually, yeah. 4 hours. Because I had an hour and a half before work, 2 of my shifts. I had an hour and a half to read and another hour and a half to read, and I finished it before my shift. So yeah, it took me about 4 hours to read the book. I mean, it was speedy, it was engaging, it was captivating. I was hooked from beginning to end. So yeah, solid book. Really enjoyed it. Highly recommend. On that note, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your book loving friends. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.